On the program last night, I mentioned the in-air emergency that was handled so brilliantly by the Qantas pilots and air safety authorities as drama unfolded over the Tasman Sea yesterday. 1 hour into an Auckland-Sydney flight, the Qantas 737 lost one of its two engines, declaring a mayday to Sydney Airport, which cleared airspace, readied emergency services, just to be sure, of course, as we then watched the jet land so safely that some passengers didn't even know anything unusual had occurred. Terrific stuff, of course, because as this was all being reported live here on Sky, much of the country was holding its breath, not least of all the relatives of the passengers on that flight. Well, wouldn't you know it, less than 24 hours later, another emergency unfolded for Qantas this morning. This time, pilots flying another 737 from Sydney to Fiji were alerted to a fault indicator early in the flight, so they circled offshore, dumping fuel before landing safely in Sydney. Again, a textbook handling of a worrying situation. Now, this comes after a period when Qantas has been under pressure over timetables and reliability as the aviation industry recovers from the extended pandemic shutdowns. And importantly, it comes as Qantas pushes a proposal to switch from dual pilots to solo pilots on some commercial flights. Now, I'm no aviation expert, although I've flown on just about every kind of aircraft except supersonic jets in all sorts of situations, including dangerous ones all over the world. And the most comforting things I've always looked for are more than one engine and well-trained flight crew, and plenty of them. And that's been a hallmark for Qantas and its great safety record over the years. Now, a former Qantas captain, David Evans, who famously landed a stricken A380 in Singapore after an engine exploded, he's written about emergency procedures, the kind that worked so well yesterday, and the crucial need to share that life-saving workload between two pilots, not one, but two pilots. The Pilots Association also has cited these latest episodes as examples of why we need to keep two pilots on the flight deck. I don't think anyone who's been in a difficult flight situation and seen how a pilot and co-pilot work through the crisis together would ever want to take one of those people out of the cabin. We've all become used to air travel being convenient and cheap, at least until recently, and we certainly don't want to lose that. But the number one demand, surely for all of us, is safety. The pilots say they need two of them in an emergency, and I trust them on that implicitly. I'm also glad we've got two on board in case one of them has a medical emergency. Let's keep two pilots up front, please.